Good day, everyone. We are the Group 2. We will discuss the Chapter 2 Tourism Essentials. Let's start. Introduction. Tourism today is a major force in the world's economy and is a global activity which represents a socio-economic phenomenon specific to modern life and considered worthy enough for serious academic importance. Over the decades, tourism has experienced continued growth and deepening diversification to become one of the fastest growing economic sectors in the world. Modern tourism is closely linked to development and encompasses a growing number of new destinations. These dynamics have turned tourism into a key driver for socio-economic progress. Today, the business volume of tourism equals or even surpasses that of all exports, even surpasses that of oil exports, food products, or automobiles. Tourism has become one of the major players in international commerce and represents at the same time one of the main income source for many developing countries.
The origin and meaning of tourism. Tourism originated from the Saxon word torn, meaning going out with the intention to return. The word's etymological roots are revived from Latin turnus and Greek tornos, which express a turning action. The term tour was first used in the 17th and 18th centuries by British noblemen on the Grand Tour to France and Italy. When combined with the suffix "isim", it means a journey or a person performing a given action. Some researchers suggest tourism comes from the Semitic word "tur", referring to journeys in the Old Testament.
Definition of tourism. Tourism is a complex multidisciplinary phenomenon involving activities undertaken during free time away from one regular works and usually environment. Essentially, it refers to people who engage in such activities as a tourist. Visitors classification as defined by the United Nations World Tourism Organization. Tourists, temporary visits who stay at least 24 hours as a destination with a purpose including recreation, health, sport, holiday, study, religion, business, family visit, or meeting. Excursionists, temporary visitors who stay less than 24 hours, including those one-day trips. Short visits such as cruise travel, but excluding those merely in transit. This classification helped to differentiate between the types of visitors and during the influencing how tourists impact destinations.
Technical definition of tourism. Technical definition of tourism are commonly used by organizations seeking to define the population to be measured, and there are three principal features which normally have to define. Key technical issues to defining tourism are: number one, the purpose of travel can vary depending on the traveler, whether it's for business, holiday, or visiting friends and relatives. Number two, the time dimension of tourism visit dictates the minimum and maximum distance from home and destination, typically 24 hours and less than a year. Number three, tourists may or may not be included in certain situations, such as cruise ship passenger, transit tourists, and those staying less than 24 hours at a destination. Travel purpose varies with time dimension. Determine distance between home and destination. Tourists may be excluded from certain situations, such as cruise ship passenger, transit tourists, and those staying less than 24 hours. In the United States, domestic tourists travel at least 50 miles one way, with the U.S. Census Bureau defining it as a round trip of 100 miles. However, Canadian government defined it as 25 miles from home, while English Tourism Council suggests 20 miles and 3 hours for leisure trips. Consequently, we should emphasize seven important features regarding the definition of tourism, and these are: number one, the journey and the stay take place outside the normal place of residence and work. Number two, there are three elements in all tourism activities: travel to a destination, to stay in the destination, and to participate in activities. Number three, journey and stay take place outside the usual environment or normal place of residence. Tourists experience different activities at the destination. For minimum stay of more than 24 hours away from home and less than a year as a maximum. 5. Foreign journeys may not have an impact on the permanent status and working purpose. 6. Daily cruise ship passenger should be accepted as a tourist even less than 24 hours. And 7. Tourism provide economic and social contribution at the destination. According to World Tourism Organization or WTO, there are three kinds of tourism, and these are international tourism, internal tourism, and national tourism. This involves journeys, stay outside normal residence and work, involving travel, stay, participation in activities. It requires a minimum stay of 24 hours and a maximum of a year. Foreign journeys may not impact permanent status or working purpose. Daily cruise ship passengers are considered tourists. Tourism contributes to economic and social development. So let's define international tourism, internal tourism, and national tourism. International tourism includes inbound and outbound travel, with inbound tourism involving non-residents and outbound involving residents. Internal tourism includes residents visiting their own country, while national tourism includes both internal outbound tourism.
Some of the key terms used to define tourism. First, traveler, visitor, or tourist. Terms used to describe a person traveling to and staying in a place away from their usual environment for more than one night but less than 1 year, for leisure, business, and other purposes. Second, international tourism. Travel between countries by various modes of travel for the purpose of tourism. This can be subdivided as follows. Next, long haul. Travel which involves long distances, over 1,000 miles to 1,610 kilometers. For example, between continents. Next one, short haul. Travel between countries which involve shorter distances or travel time is example 250 slash 1000 miles, 400 kilometer slash 1610 kilometer. Next, inbound. Visits to a country by non-residents, importation of overseas currency. Outbound. Visits by the residents of one country to another country, exporting currency to other countries. Next, domestic tourism. Internal travel and inbound tourism in total. And last one, excursionist or same-day visitor. Visitors will begin and end their visit from the same base within 24 hours period.
Tourist system. Tourism model diagram. This is the model suggested by Leeper in 1979 and updated in 1990. The human tourist. The human element involved in tourism is the first essential element in Leeper's model. So the human tourist the tourist is the actor In Libra's tourism system, they move around the tourism system. The geographical element. Leaper identifies three geographical elements in his model. The first one is the traveler generating region. Represents that part in the tourism system from where people travel to another region of their choice. So, for example, a person is taking a domestic holiday, then their hometown will almost certainly be classified as the traveler generating region. Second, the tourist destination region is the ultimate place for where a tourist is traveling to. The destination, all the planning and management strategies are implemented. The tourist destination region is the area that the tourist is visiting. This could be a small area. Last, the transit route region does not represent the short period of travel to reach the destination, but also includes the intermediate places which may be visited en route. There is always an interval in the route when the traveler feels they have not yet arrived where they choose to visit. So the transit route region is the space between when the tourist leaves the traveler generating region and when they arrive at the tourist destination region. This could be by road, rail, air, or sea. Is largely made up of transport infrastructure.
Tourism and travel. Tourism is an activity which will be enjoyable or interesting for those involved and may also include accommodation, activities, and attractions, which cover all elements of tourism, hospitality, events, and leisure. Travel, however, encompasses tour operation and tour packages. Both tourism and travel movement of people is necessary. A person can benefit from all kinds of transportation when traveling. He or she may travel by his or her car and stop at any place on the way. The main criteria in tourism are staying, eating, and drinking, shopping, sightseeing, etc. at the destination. The result is tourism and travel are used interchangeability. Individuals travel to all sorts of places. However, tourism covers relatively longer duration of time and has recreation and tourism potentials such as visiting museums, national parks, and joining activities. People travel for many reasons. So, ang tourism ay tungkol sa pagbisita sa iba't ibang lugar para ma-enjoy tulad ng pagstay sa hotel, pag-enjoy ng mga pagkain, pag-shopping at sightseeing kasama na dito ang mga activities sa mga destinasyon na pupuntahan. Ang travel naman ay tungkol sa mismong pagbiyahe gamit ang iba't ibang uri ng transportation. Madalas, ginagamit ng magkapareho ang tourism at travel, pero ang tourism ay mas matagal at focus sa recreation, habang ang travel ay mismong paggalaw, pagpunta at pabalik-balik sa mga lugar.
Definition of tourist. The term tourist emerged in the early 80s with the concept of tourism first described in Sporting Magazine in 1811. Tourists visit places for leisure, recreation, health, sport, holiday, and more.
Tourist experience. In tourist analysis, evaluating tourist involvement is looking beyond the individual experience to understand border pattern. Tourist experience guide travel to operate design better tourist production or product. Each trip can divide to 3 stages, which is the anticipation stages. These stages occurs before the trips involves the tourist perception and expectation, which influence their travel decisions. The realization phases. This stage actually experienced during the trips for arrive the destination to the return of journeys. The recollection phases. This stage happens in the end of the trips, including the reflecting whether the experience meet their initial expectation, which can be affect to the future decisions. Understanding these spaces help to creating experience that aligning to tourist expectations and improving overall satisfaction. Topper 2012.
Ayon naman dito, ang pagsusuri ng turismo mahalagang isaalang-alang ang tatlong yugto ng karanasan ng mga turista. Yugto ng pag-aasam, yugto ng pagkatuto at yugto ng pagpaalala. Sa yugto ng pag-aasam, ang mga inaasahan at pananaw ng turista ay nabubuo at naging batayan ng kanilang desisyon sa paglalakbay. Sa yugto ng pagkatuto naman, nagaganap ang aktwal na karanasan sa destinasyon mula sa pagdating hanggang sa pagbabalik. Sa yugto ng pag-aalala naman, nagmumuni ang mga turista kung natugunan ba ang kanilang mga karanasan, ang kanilang mga inaasahan na maaaring makaapekto sa kanilang mga susunod na desisyon. Sa pag-unawa ng mga yugtong ito, magiging mas epektibo ang mga travel operations sa paglikha ng mga produkto at karanasan na tugma sa mga pangangailangan ng mga turista na nagre-resulta sa mas mataas na kasiyahan.
Current thinking of tourist roles. Tourist roles vary from person to person with 15 leisure-based tourist roles, and these are sun lover, action seeker, anthropologist, archaeologist, organized mass tourist, thrill seeker, explorer, jet setter, seeker, independent tourism, high-class tourist, Driver and sport tourists and educational tourists. Each show seeks unique experience such as sunbathing, partying, exploring, jet setter, seeking spiritual or personal knowledge, independent mass tourists, high-class tourists, sport tourists, and educational tourists. Tourists seeks unique experience, ensuring a diverse, enjoyable vacation experience. Another way of classification is according to their motivation to business and their degree of adaptation to local forms. Smith has drawn a classification system for tourists that attempts to show their potential impact on the host destination. Smith's classification of tourists is shown in the table below. And these are explorer, elite, upbeat, insufficient, mass, and charter.
Demand side of tourism. Demand is defined differently according to the aspect of the issue. According to The Economist, demand is an action of people who have the desire to buy and who have the power to choose any product or service from different prices over a certain period of time. On the other hand, psychologists have evaluated from the perspective of motivational and behavioral perspectives. According to the geographers, demand is the number of people who have enough income to afford the desire of travel, use tourist attractions and services away from their usual environment. In order to understand the structure of the tourism market, World Tourism Organization recommends that to understand the nature of markets that of tourism visits may be classified as follows. First, purpose of visit. Second, duration of the trip, day or nights. Next, region and destination of the trip, area of residence and destination, main means of transport used, and last, type of accommodation used. So, ang ibig sabihin lang nito ay ang demand daw sa tourism ay depende sa kagustuhan nating mga tao na magbiyahe at gumastos para sa makaranas ng ibang lugar at serbisyo or service. Sabi naman ng mga ekonomista, ito ay tungkol sa kakayahan ng mga tao na bumili ng mga service or products. Ayon naman sa mga psychologists, ito ay nakabase sa motivation at pag-uugali ng tao. Para mas maunawaan ng market ng tourism na sinasabi ng United Nations World Tourism Organization na dapat isaalang-alang ang layunin ng biyahe, tagal ng pagstay, lugar ng pinanggalingan at pupuntahan, transportation, at tirahan ng mga turista.
Supply side of tourism. Tourism supply is the provision of goods and services to meet demand and consumption. The industry is labor-intensive, with businesses classified as direct suppliers or indirect suppliers. Despite being mobile consumers, most geographically specific locations are considered sources of tourism. Holloway's factional perspectives highlights the diverse nature of supply. First, the producers. They are grouped into transport companies, accommodation providers, restaurants and attraction centers. Tour operators and travel agency are also considered due to their intermediary roles. Second, support services. Support services provide either direct or indirect services to the consumers or tourists. To the public sector, support services are national, regional, local bodies in the destination. Public educational and training establishments, security, airports and seaports, etc., and private sector support services are guides, transport, facilities, accommodation services. And in tourism supply chain and its management, supply chain is the network of different organizations that deliver products and services to the final consumers. There is one or there are many organizations in the supply chain. It is of course possible that one organization could carry out all these functions through different stages. In the tourism industry, interactions and supplier relations are very complicated issue.
Demand types. Three basic components that make up the total demands for tourism are: first, effective or actual demand. So, ang effective or actual demand daw is ito yung mga tao talagang nagta-travel na kaya mas madali silang bilangin. Gaya sabi dito, it is the actual number of participants in tourism or those who are actually traveling. This is the component of demand most commonly and easily measured. So next, suppressed demand. It is made up of that section of the population who do not travel for some reasons. So, itong demand naman na ito ay yung mga taong gusto mag-travel pero may mga dahilan kung bakit hindi nila magawa. So, merong dalawang nakapaloob dito. Una na dito ang potential demand, which refers to those who will travel at some future date when their circumstances allow. Ang potential demand daw ay sila yung mga tao na hindi makapag-travel sa ngayon pero may balak silang gawin ito kapag naging ayos na daw ang mga sitwasyon. So, the next one is deferred demand, which is a demand postponed by supplier or environment. Ito naman ay travel na naantala dahil sa mga external na factor tulad ng supplier or environment. So lastly, ang huling demand naman ay no demand. Itong no demand, there will always be those who simply do not wish to travel or unable to travel. This category is called no demand. These kinds of people are either having financial difficulties or they cannot take free time or they wish to spend their vacation in their summer houses. So, dito parang ito daw yung mga tao na kahit anong mangyari, ayaw talaga nila mag-travel. Or baka may iba silang dahilan. Pwede ring pera, wala silang oras, o kagustuhan lang nila. Kaya mas gusto nilang magstay na lang sa bahay. So next, in the modern world, there are several factors that influence demand in travel and tourism industry globally and locally. Some of these are: A. Economical factors, B. Social factors, C. Political factors, D. Structural factors, E. Technical factors. F. Globalization factors. And lastly, G. Environmental factors.
So as you can see, the figure shows the market supply curve, sloping upwards from bottom left to top right, indicating that firms are more willing to supply a greater quantity at higher prices and will supply less quantity as price falls. And reason for this: first, higher prices generally lead to higher profits, inducing firms to supply more. Second, firms will seek have higher prices to cover any increases in the marginal cost of production that might accompany increased production. Supply side of tourism. Tourism supply is the provision of goods and services to meet demand and consumption. The industry is labor intensive, with businesses classified as direct suppliers or indirect suppliers. Despite being mobile consumers, most geographically specific locations are considered sources of tourism. Holloway's factional perspectives highlights the diverse nature of supply. First, the producers. They are grouped into transport companies, accommodation providers, restaurants and attraction centers. Tour operators and travel agencies are also considered due to their intermediary roles. Second, support services. Support services provide either direct or indirect services to the consumers or tourists. To the public sector, support services are national, regional, local bodies in the destination, public educational and training establishments, security, airports and seaports, etc., and private sector support services are guides, transport, facilities, accommodation services. And in tourism supply chain and its management, supply chain is the network of different organizations that deliver products and services to the final consumers. There is one or there are many organizations in the supply chain. It is of course possible that one organization could carry out all these functions through different stages. In the tourism industry, interactions and supplier relations are very complicated issue.
The impact of tourism and its measurement. International tourism activity measure is a simpler than domestic tourism. Using frontier check, hotel stay, and currency exchange data, tourists contribute to the economy by spending money on goods and service, injecting funds into host countries, information communication technology, ICT and automated passport control, streamline entry process, and gathered passenger data. The UN Tourism Satellite Account measure economic data in tourism, while UNWTO program focuses on sectors understanding, progressing, monitoring, impact evaluation, and policy guidelines. Travel is the activity of individuals moving between different geographic locations for various purposes and duration. Domestic travel is within the country. Inbound travel is a country and outbound travel is outside. A trip is a round trip from departure to return, with inbound trips arriving and departing from a country. A visitor is a traveler going to different destinations for less than a year, for purposes like tourism, leisure, or businesses excluding employment. Tourism is a subset of travel, and visitors are classified as a tourist or excursionist.
Tourism Settle Account. Tourism Settle Account or TSA is a method used to measure the direct economic contribution of tourism compositions in national economy. Adopted by United Nations, the World Tourism Organization in 2000. The TSA integrated data on the supply and use of tourism-related goods and services into a unified format. This framework allowed to the consistent and comparable tourism economic data such as Tourism Direct or GDP with another economic statistic. Tourism can be viewed perspective, demand side, focusing on visitors' activities and their consumptions. The good and service supply sides, focusing on producing activity creating visitors. Visitors defined as someone traveling outside usually environment less than a year or purpose of the employment by the resident. Wait, okay.
TSA, Tourism Settle Account, isang mahalagang instrumento para sukatin ang kontribusyon ng turismo sa pambansang ekonomiya. Itinatag noong 2000 ng United Nations at World Tourism Organization. Nagbibigay ito ng maaasahang datos tungkol sa gastusin ng bisita at ng mga produksyong serbisyo. May dalawang pananaw ang TSA. Ang panig ng demand na nakatuon sa aktibidad ng mga bisita at ang panig ng supply na nakatuon sa mga serbisyong sumusuporta sa turismo. Upang maging epektibo, kailangang umasa ang mga bansa sa maasahang estatistika. Kinakailangang umasa ang mga bansa sa maasahang estatistika at regular na update ng datos. Sa kabuuan, ang TSA ay nagbibigay ng batayan para sa mas mahusay na estratehiya sa turismo. Sa kabuuan, ang TSA ay nagbibigay ng batayan para sa mas mahusay na estratehiya at turismo na nakikinabang hindi lamang ang turista kundi pati na rin ang lokal na ekonomiya ng komunidad.